Hello, my name is Rakos and you're watching a video by Peaky Boardgamer. Today I will teach you how you can play the game Daitoshi. The game is designed by Danny Garcia and it's for 1 to 4 players. This is also part of the verse Kemushi Saga. Let's move to the table and see how the game is played. In Daitoshi, players compete for influence and prestige in an era of progress and steam power inventions. On their turn, players choose to either take a production turn or a city turn. When you take a production turn, all players will put inventions in their factory to work and gain various resources and rewards. With a city turn, players will operate in one of the city's districts, will put workers to work in the city's workshops, exploit the 4 wilderness tracks and perform a main action. Actions like expanding or electrifying sectors of districts, gain new inventions, trade with other cities, or contributing to the mega machine. Players will also keep an eye on their conflicts with the yokai to avoid significant penalties. After final scoring, the player with the most victory points will win in Daitoshi. At first, place the board in the middle of the table. Then take the district inner sectors and randomly place them around the central area of the board. Then take the middle and outer district sectors, shuffle them separately and place them next to the board facing upwards. Then take the city tiles and after you shuffle them, randomly place one on each city on the main board. Remaining city tiles are not used and return to the box. Separate invention tiles based on their level. There are ordinary, innovative and brilliant inventions. After you shuffle them separately, fill all spaces in this inventions market with corresponding tiles. The rest of the tiles remain next to the board, forming a general supply. In the top part of the board, we have the 4 wilderness tracks. These tracks have spaces that must be covered using these wilderness hexes. These hexes are double-sided. One of the sides depicts this yokai symbol. You need to place hexes using the non-yokai side. On some of these spaces you will notice a player count symbol, 3-player or 4-player. Now this applies to all tracks except on the river track. In games with 3 players, you need to place 2 hexes in all those spaces that depict the 3-player count symbol. If it's a 4 players game, you will also place 2 hexes on these spaces as well. In solo or 2-player games, all of these spaces will have just 1 hex. The river track works differently. In 4-player games, all of these spaces will have just 1 hex. If there are 3 players in the game, as it will be in our example, all hexes that have a 4-player count symbol are removed from the game. In a solo or a 2-player game, also the next 4 hexes will be removed. In our example of a 3-player game, only the 4 first river spaces will be empty. Next, take the mega machine tiles, which are double-sided, and randomly pick one to use in your game. Place it here and return the rest to the box. Next, take the university invention tiles and find the ones that match to this illustration in the top part of the mega machine tile. There should be 6 tiles. After you find them, place them onto this space here. In 2- and 3-player games, you will have to use one of these tiles. These tiles indicate some of the invention tile spaces that need to be covered. We are playing a 3-players game, so I will have to cover this space with this tile. The other one is not used. Take the 3 upgrade tokens and randomly place them on the Mega Machine tile. Next, take the Mega Machine token and randomly choose one of the districts and place it. Then create supplies of workers, steam and wealth tokens next to the board. Each player selects one of the colors and takes the components as well as the factory board of the corresponding color. Then take 1 player raid for each player and make sure you include the one depicting a 1 figure in the top of the 3rd page. After you shuffle the player raids, randomly distribute them to players. The player that got this player aid will be the first player and will place that in the top left corner of their factory board. The rest of the player turn order will be clockwise. Each player takes one piece of these operation tiles. These are double-sided and one of the sides depicts a more reddish color. That's the conflict side. Now, using their normal side, these have to be placed in specific slots of your factory board. This one is placed here, this one is placed here, that one is placed here, and this one is placed here. All players also take one government grant tile which is slotted here. Players have one of these banners which they must place using this side on this space of their factory board. They have a production token which should be placed in the middle position of this little track. Players place their 8 cubes in the first space of each one of these 8 tracks in their factory. Here players have 4 tracks for each of the 4 main resources of the game. These are food, electricity, materials and luxury goods. Players take these 4 markers and place them in the first space of their corresponding tracks, indicating that they start the game with one of each resource. Players also get a chimney which should be placed in space 0 of this steam track. Players also start the game with 1 wealth and 7 steam tokens which are placed in this area of their factory. Players get a reputation marker which should be placed in the leftmost space of this reputation track. Players place 3 of their pilgrims on this space, which is the starting space of the 3 land tracks. The last pilgrim is placed on this space, the starting space of the river track. Players have the warm bath which moves clockwise on this rail track. Players place their warm baths on this exact space of this track. Players also have a prestige marker which moves clockwise on this little track. Initially you place it on this space. Then take the basic invention tiles and randomly give 1 to each player. If you are more experienced, randomly choose tiles equal to the number of players and then let players choose the one they like using the player turn order. The basic invention tile you get at the start of the game also indicates the starting district of your magnate. You can see that from my graphics. Each district has 3 magnate spaces. For your initial placement, you place your magnate in the middle space. In 2-player games, you have to use only the magnate figure of a non-player color. Then, place this figure to a random district that has no player magnate. The tile you gain must be placed in the bottom floor of the leftmost building. This slot is quite wide, you need to slide the tile to the bottom of this slot. Players also keep 5 banner flags next to their play area. Players place their scoring marker next to space 1 of the scoring track, and the game is now ready to start. A short pause in the video here to remind you that if you haven't done already, please subscribe to this channel. It costs nothing but really makes a difference to me and this channel. Also hit that bell button so you get notified of all our future videos. In the game, players alternate turns indefinitely until the end of the game is triggered. There are no rounds. On your turn, you have 2 options. Either take a production turn or take a city turn. At the end of your turn, you check if you have any standing conflicts with a yokai and also check if the game's end is triggered. Then it's the next player's turn. Let's analyze what happens when you take a production turn. When you take a production turn, not just you, but all players produce. However, you, as the production leader, get some extra benefits. First, to be eligible to take the production turn, this production token must be in the middle position. Not here and not there. So, if it's in the middle, you can move it to the right position and start a production turn for you and also for other players. Important! Other players are eligible to participate in your production turn regardless the position of their production marker, and they don't move it even if it's in the middle position. In the right part of your board, you have 3 buildings that have slots for inventions. You start with 1, but you will get more throughout the game. I will place some more to use a better example. So, when you produce, you activate any number of these three buildings by paying the cost in Steam shown in the bottom, and then you get the benefits from the invention tiles. Red numbers indicate a cost, while black numbers a benefit. In this example, let's say that I will activate this building first and spend 2 Steam. All other players do this process simultaneously, spending the appropriate Steam. Every invention tile has 3 benefits. The one on the right is always a victory point bonus. Whether you gain these benefits, however, depends on the visible pictograms next to the tile. In our case, I don't get the victory point nor the energy resource because there is a red X above them. I do, however, gain the 1 wealth because it stands next to a green tick. If you are the production leader, you also gain the bonus beneath pink ticks. So, since I am, I will get a 2nd wealth token. In the next invention, I will gain 1 food. I will not gain a 2nd one because there is no pink tick in this case. When you get resources, you move the corresponding marker 1 space upwards in the track. When you need to spend these resources, you lower the marker the appropriate spaces. Wealth tokens that I gained earlier is the wild resource of this game and can be used as any of these 4 resources. Important: Steam is not regarded a resource, so you cannot pay wealth for Steam. Next, let's say I want to activate this building as well, so I must spend another 4 Steam, and then I activate this invention tile and get 2 building materials, since there is a pink tick here as well. As you can see, next to each invention there is also a track with a marker. After you finish gaining production bonuses, all players move the marker next to every triggered invention by 1 space on the track. Important: if you are the production leader, you move the cube twice. So I will move all of these cubes twice. Not this cube, however, because I did not trigger this building. These tracks indicate rewards that you collect immediately as the cube reaches them or passes through them. When you move on this space with the arrow, the corresponding invention slides upwards. This reveals more ticks, so next time I trigger this invention, I will also get the victory point, and I will also move my warm bath 1 space clockwise. When you reach this bonus, you immediately collect the victory point yield of the tile. With this bonus, you collect it twice. There are also 2 more bonus types that I will explain them later. So, you activated buildings, triggered bonuses, and moved cubes on the tracks, triggering more bonuses. Finally, only the production leader, me in this example, gets to move their pilgrims on wilderness tracks, a total of spaces equal to the number of buildings activated. I activated 2 buildings, so I can move 1 pilgrim twice or 2 pilgrims once on different tracks. There are 4 wilderness tracks. You have 3 pilgrims here for these 3 tracks. Here, pilgrims move outwards. You have another pilgrim next to the river track, and here you move from left to right. Very important, pilgrims cannot move on hexes with wilderness tiles. In our example, my only option is to move this pilgrim 2 spaces forward in the river track. Wilderness tracks play an important role, and we will come back to them. It was to say now that a common bonus on invention tiles are these. This grants you a move for your pilgrim on the yellow wilderness track. This grey pictogram here is the neutral color. It means you can move on any wilderness track, if there is open way, of course. I finally move the production marker to the left position and end my turn. To finish with production turn, each player has 1 government grant tile. Players can spend this one-time bonus during their or any player's production turn to activate all of their buildings without spending any steam. Players that do not use this until scoring will advance progress markers a total of 3 spaces at that time. Instead of producing, you can take a city turn. With this type of turn, you move your magnate to a district, so you may then exploit and perform actions offered in that district. Taking a city turn involves several steps that I show you here now with graphics. I will analyze each of these steps now. The first step is to move your magnate figure 1 or 2 districts clockwise. You can also spend steam to move additional steps. And yes, if you spend 3 steam, you can move again to the district you started. After you select the target district, you must place your magnate to a magnet space. Every district has 3 magnet spaces with different functionality. To move to the left space has a cost of 2 steam. Also, there can only be 1 magnet in this space, so if it's occupied, you must select one of the other spaces. When you place your magnet in the left space, as instructed by this pictogram, you remove all workers from the entire district and place them back to the supply. As the game progresses, districts will be expanded and will offer more worker spaces. Also, if the Mega Machine token is in this district, you also remove workers from the Mega Machine area. Then you proceed with the rest of your turn steps. To place your magnet in the middle space, you must pay 1 steam, and again there can only be 1 magnet there. Then you proceed with the rest of your turn steps without removing workers. The magnet space on the right has no cost and it can be occupied by multiple magnets. However, you will have to skip the next step of your turn, which is to place workers. Let's analyze this step now. But just before that, in a 2-player game, after you move your magnet, if the neutral magnet is in your district, you must move it 3 districts clockwise and place it in the middle magnet space. If that space is occupied, you place it on the leftmost space. Also, if the Mega Machine token is there, you move it also 1 district in a counterclockwise direction. So, if you place your magnet in the left or middle space, you may then place workers from your personal supply to workshops to gain various rewards. How you gain workers will be explained later. Every district requires workers of a specific color. The color is indicated here on the first workshop. It would be blue in this case. If later the district is expanded, the new workshops have this illustration, meaning you have to follow the color of the initial workshop. Also, if the Mega Machine token is currently in your district, you can also place a worker in this area, again following the color of your district. Exception: if you are in the Town Hall district, as this pictogram indicates, you can select the 1 color of workers you will be placing on your turn. So, it's the only district that can have different color of workers in the workshops, as other players can select the same or different color for their turn. Every workshop and that of the Mega Machine can hold only 1 worker, and this is what makes the first magnet space important. So, in this step you simply place workers based on the rules we just explained and gain the reward of that space. So for example, me as the green player can place a blue worker here and gain 3 steam, and since the Mega Machine is present and its workshop empty, I can also place a worker here and score my reputation as well as gain 2 victory points. We will say more about reputation and the Mega Machine in general later on. All pictograms you will find in rewards are explained in detail in the player aids. The third step is compulsory. You must exploit the track indicated in your district. In my district, that is the underground track. This means you go to the corresponding track and take the next token. If the track is already empty, you take a corresponding hex from the discard pile. If a track space has 2 tokens, you take the topmost token. Make note that the Town Hall district lets you exploit 2 hexes. A river hex and a hex of your choice. You then place the hexes to the corresponding space on the left of your factory. If you gained a token you already had in your factory, then you flip it and place it on its yokai side. This may have negative consequences, but we will leave this for later. After you place the token, you gain the corresponding bonus next to the space, as I show you here with graphics. This is always a worker of a specific color and either 2 water or 1 coal. In this example, I gained a pink worker and 1 coal. Workers are placed in an empty slot of this area. If there is no space, you can discard one of your workers to make space or simply discard the new one. Whenever you gain water or coal, you adjust your steam engine track. You move the chimney up 1 space for each water you gain and down 1 space for each coal you gain. If your chimney is here, for example, and gain water, you lose it as the chimney cannot move anymore upwards. Now, for every move you make in the direction of the arrows printed on the track, you gain steam as shown here in this area, so 3 steam. To put it in more simple terms, you gain 3 steam for every step towards the 0 space. Now I gained 1 coal. If the chimney was here, for example, it would move 1 space downwards, and this movement is towards 0 and not away from it, so I gain 3 steam. In another example, if the chimney was here and I gained 3 coal, I would gain 3 steam, then another 3 steam, but the last step moves away of 0, so in total I gain 6 steam. After exploiting, you may perform a main action offered in this area of your district. If the Mega Machine token is in your district, then you may perform the contribute to the Mega Machine action instead of the action of the district. If you are operating in the Town Hall district, then you can choose any action, even the contribute to the Mega Machine fair action. All actions will be explained in just a bit. After performing your main action, you proceed with the cleanup step. During this step, if the Mega Machine is in your district, you move it to the next district in a counterclockwise direction. In a 2 players game only, if the Mega Machine token ends up to the district with a neutral magnate, then you move it once again to the next district. Also, if your production token is in the leftmost position, you move it to the middle. This means that you can take a production turn next time. The first action is to commit to an invention. This is how you gain new invention tiles, so you can use them when you take a production turn. The invention tiles offered are in this area. You can either buy 1 tile and immediately gain all bonuses on the tile, or 2 tiles but you gain no immediate bonuses. The cost here is in food and depends on the column of the tile in the market. After you take the tile or tiles, you must place them in your factory in the bottom position of the lowest empty floor. If you have no empty floors, you cannot gain more tiles. Finally, you refill empty spaces on the market with new tiles from the corresponding supplies. As the wording suggests, when you expand the district, you add the next district section to any one of the districts. After you choose the district, you take the topmost corresponding tile from the supply, pay the cost and then place it. The cost here is in materials. 2 for a middle section and 4 for an outer section. So, in this example, if I choose to expand this district, I must pay for a middle section, thus 2 materials, and then take this tile from the supply and add it in the district this side facing upwards. After placing the tile, you must give back to the wilderness. This means to fill this grey slot with a hex from your factory. Outer sectors have 2 such slots you must fill. Important, these slots must be filled, so if you don't have enough hexes, you cannot add the sector from the beginning. You place tiles on their conflict side, and then depending on which hexes you used, you gain the corresponding conflict reward. So, if I used a forest hex, I will gain 1 food. Alternatively, you can renovate a district. In this case, you simply spend 3 material and discard one of your hexes from your board and gain its conflict reward. This should be used if you have no better option. The next action is to electrify a district. Each sector of every district has this pictogram and next to them a cost in electricity in order to electrify it by performing this action. You can choose any non-electrified sector on the board, and after you pay the cost, you gain all bonuses to the right. If I electrified this sector, I must pay 2 electricity and then I gain 1 coal and 1 prestige. If I electrify this sector, I must pay 4 electricity, but I will gain 1 wealth, 2 prestige, and also the conflict reward of these hexes. All these rewards must be taken in order from left to right. Then you flip the entire sector to its electrified side and return hexes and workers that might be on the sector back to the supply. If you electrified this sector, however, the magnets will be placed back on the same magnet space of the electrified side. The next action is trade with other cities. The action has to do with this area of the board, which illustrates 5 cities. When you trade, you choose one of the cities and pay the steam cost depicted here. Then you must spend up to 5 luxury goods. For each luxury good you spend, and moving from left to right, you gain these rewards. So if I spend 4 luxury goods, I will gain all of these rewards. I will stay a little on these flag pictograms. The green flag reward means you create partnership with this city. You indicate this by placing one of your flags on the corresponding space here. You can only place 1 flag on each city. Multiple players can have partnership with the same city at the same time. After you have a partnership with a city, you become eligible to use the city's major reward, which is this in the middle. This power has a condition to the left. Whenever during your turn you satisfy this condition, you may gain the reward, but your flag will also return to your supply. So if, for example, I have a flag here in this city, when I take the commit an invention action, I may return the flag to my supply and gain 4 steam immediately. If you reach this orange flag, then you immediately gain the city's major reward without having to satisfy the condition and without returning your flag. As we said earlier, if the Mega Machine token is in your district, you can use its special workshop to send workers in the place workers step, but also you may contribute to the Mega Machine as your main action in the action step. The cost of this action is 1 resource of each type plus 1 wealth, but also you must donate one of your Mega Machine ready inventions. All invention tracks also depict this icon. After you reach this space with your progress marker, the invention is ready to be donated when you perform the contribute to the Mega Machine action. So, when you perform this action, you must take one of your machine ready inventions and place it face down to any invention slot on the Mega Machine area, which is free, and gain all depicted rewards. Then you take one of the machine's university inventions, they're all the same, and you fill the same invention slot in your factory, keeping the progress marker in the same space. Finally, there are also 3 circular machine upgrades. Each one is linked to specific slots. If after your placement all links of an upgrade are filled, like in our case, the upgrade is unlocked and is placed in 1 upgrade slot here. Whenever you place a worker in the machine, apart from triggering the effect of the workshop, you also gain the rewards of all unlocked upgrades. So if in the future a player placed a worker here, they would gain 2 victory points, they would score their reputation, they would gain 1 prestige and also 3 warm bus movements. This concludes the process of the contribute action, but I bet you have no idea what most of the rewards just mentioned mean. Whenever you gain prestige, you move your prestige marker 1 space clockwise on this track and receive the indicated benefit. This bonus here means that you move your reputation marker 1 space to the right. You gain nothing more from this now, but whenever you gain this reward, you score your reputation, meaning the victory points beneath your reputation marker. You also have a warm bus which moves on this outer track again clockwise. Similarly, whenever you gain warm bus moves, you receive all rewards you pass through or stop onto. Whether you took a production or a city turn, at the end of your turn you must check and update your yokai conflict status. If you remember, we said that if you gain a second hex of a type, it is placed on its yokai side. At the end of your turn, for each hex type, you must update the corresponding operation tile on your factory board. If the yokai side is visible on a hex, then the operation tile must be turned or remain to its conflict side. If you have no hex, or if you have only one, then the corresponding operation tile must be turned or remain to its non-conflict side. I will explain. For the forests, the corresponding tile is this. So in my example, this must now turn to the conflict side. While on this side, I'll be getting less steam from moving my chimney. For mountains, the corresponding tile is this. The conflict side increases the steam cost to activate your buildings when you produce. However, in my case, I should turn the tile to the normal side. Underground is connected to this operation tile. In my case, I must turn this one to the conflict side. This side decreases the number of workers you can store to only 2. Unfortunately, I have to choose any 2 of my 4 workers and discard them. The other 2 will be stored. Finally, river is connected to this tile. In our case, this has to remain on the conflict side. While at that side, when I produce, I don't get to move the progress marker of the inventions I choose to use unless I am the production leader, in which case I will move them only once instead of 2 times. As you can understand, you are trying to have few hexes, and you can achieve that by taking the expanded district action and also by gaining these rewards, which enables you to discard any 1 hex back to the supply. And if the bonus has this conflict symbol, you discard the hex and also gain the corresponding conflict reward. The end of the game is triggered when one of these arrows appearing on wilderness tracks is revealed. At this point, players continue playing so that all players have had the same number of turns in the game, and then players will play another final turn. Then you move to final scoring. Scoring begins with players that did not use their government grant tile. They will now make 3 progress marker moves in total and gain all rewards. Then, depending on how far you reached on each of the 4 tracks, you gain victory points by multiplying the reached victory point value to a specific condition. For the forest, I will multiply the 10 points I reach with my pilgrim to the number of university inventions in my factory. I have only 1, so I will score 10 victory points. In the mountain, I score 6 points multiplied to the number of progress markers that have reached to the rightmost space. I have 3, so I score 18 points. For underground, I score 3 times the victory point value of the reached reputation, so I score 15 points. The river track has a positive but also a negative scoring. First, I gain 5 victory points multiplied to the number of hex types for which I have no tile at all. Unfortunately, I have a hex in all of the types, so I score 0 points. Then, I score -7 victory points times the number of operation tiles flipped to the conflict side. I have 2, so I score -14 points. If your pilgrim is still on the temple, assume the factor as -10. Finally, you combine all your workers and resources and gain a point for every 2. Remember, steam is not a resource. The player with the most victory points wins. If there is a tie, the tiebreakers are the player with the least operation tiles flipped to the conflict side, then the player with the most inventions, and finally the player with most total pilgrim advancements. If the tie still exists after that, all tied players share their victory. And this is how you can play Danny Garcia's Daitoshi. If you like our videos and want to see more, please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, have fun and play more board games.